Since 1985, Continuum has had the tremendous fortune to explore new ideas in music in Toronto, where the trees meet the water. Toronto is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island and has been a site of human activity for more than 15,000 years. We recognize that we are here because this land was colonized. Indigenous communities and allies struggle against the ongoing consequences of our colonial system. This land is the territory of the Petun First Nations, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit River. The territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and Confederacy of the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We are enormously grateful for the generosity of all Indigenous people who share this land with us and allow us to live and work here as uninvited guests.
Welcome to Continuum's 21st episode of Press Play, our web series that dives deep into extraordinary works of contemporary music in both their performance and in informative conversations with the artists who create the work. My name is Joyce, and I am the host of Press Play. Today, we have the utmost pleasure of being joined by Dorothy Chang. Yay! Described as evocative and kaleidoscopic by the Seattle Times, Dorothy's music often reflects the eclectic mix of musical influences from her youth, ranging from popular and folk music to elements of traditional Chinese music. She has received degrees in composition from the University of Michigan and the Indiana University School of Music. She has served on the music faculty at Indiana State University and since 2003 has been a professor of music at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. Please make welcome Dorothy Chang.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thanks
for having me.
Thanks for being here. Such a pleasure. All right, without further ado, Shelter. This piece commissioned in 2020 by the Turning Point Ensemble for their resident harpist. I hope I don't butcher this, Janelle Nadeau. And the commission, from what I read, was part of a project that invited composers and performers to collaborate one-on-one and to reflect on the pandemic experiences.
For this piece, Janelle approached me to collaborate with her. And we first started out with a conversation and I asked her, we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do with the piece. And she said she wanted to focus on the silver linings of the pandemic. So for her, and for me as well, it was all the time at home allowed us more time to spend with our family, with our children. And Janelle has a young toddler at home. And at that point, she was expecting her second. So I wanted to make it about motherhood, about protecting, sheltering our little ones and creating these safe spaces. So I asked her if there were any songs she'd like to sing to her children, or at that point, her child. And one of the songs she mentioned was Songbird. So it was specifically the cover by Eva Cassidy. So I was interested in that and I went to listen to it. I wasn't familiar with it before and I listened to it a bunch of times and it really inspired me. I thought there was a lot I could do with it. It's very different than my own music, but it's just a beautiful song. And it really touched me in ways that I thought I could work with it and incorporate it into piece for harp. So the piece is based off of Songbird. And I began by just listening to it a whole bunch of times. I searched out the sheet music and I played it through a whole number of times. And then I sought out fragments, moments, little gestures that really caught my ear. And I kind of kept those as a kind of like a vocabulary as I was working on the piece and found ways of incorporating them into kind of weaving them with my own original material.
And the songbirds keep singing like they know the score.
Songbird becoming your own in shelter, did you find that really tricky to take something that is not yours at all, not your original thought, and then make and spinning it into your version that reflected and embodied these ideas that you and Janelle really wanted to portray in the music? How did you go about doing that? Was it difficult? Was there any challenges in turning Songbird into this kind of original idea in the piece?
Well, it was kind of, it was a challenge, but the idea we settled on was that the original material I wrote was very restless and didn't really have anything to do with Songbird, but the material would come to a pause. And in those moments of stillness, I would quote 3 or 4, sometimes just 3 or 4 notes from Songbird. And it would be verbatim. I took the exact pitches, the exact melodic contour, kind of reflected the rhythmic structure. And those pitches would then be spun off and inspire the next little blur of my own original material. So there was this kind of back and forth and back and forth. And the most challenging part for me is probably the ending, when I wanted the two to be really kind of intertwined and very closely incorporated. So for that one, the challenge was mostly my own language is quite chromatic, and I had to work with this very tonal fragments, melodic fragments. So how could I make that be kind of a logical place, the final place of shelter in the piece? But it was really fun to work it out. It was a bit of a puzzle, a musical puzzle, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching episode 21 of Press Play. Thank you to Sanya for your beautiful performance, and thank you, Dorothy, for joining us in conversation. The next episode of Press Play broadcasts Thursday, April 7th at 7 p.m. with Small Meadows in Spring by Anna Hostman, performed by Wesley Shen on harpsichord. Visit our website, www.continuummusic.ca, to learn more about all our upcoming Press Play episodes and other projects, including Grounds for Goodness in February and Brushline in March. And if you like what we are doing, click the support button and make a donation now. Thanks for watching. Bye.